Welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk, and you're gonna listen. This is episode, I don't know, and I don't know how sound. I don't know how good the sound's gonna be out here. I'm outside. Of course the AC's going because it's about a billion degrees out. I always, I always have a hard problem with the audio out here. The audio is always blown out. Um, so I'm trying to have like the microphone like actually pretty far away this time. So hopefully the audio is not too blown out. Um, this is the first episode since I relaunched Bunker Codes into Bunker Basics, and so this is kind of like a half thank you episode, half I need your help episode, half call to action, half kind of after action of the whole thing. And so first of all, I want to say thank you to Rural and OVP, Hudson Valley, and Vision Preparedness, and just so many more that I can't even like. There's so many to even name them all would be a challenge. Probably a list of like 30 or 40 people that I want to thank, to be honest. Um, and so I want to say thank you first of all. Second of all, um, you know, the outpouring of support was great, and it was all from modest content creators. Um, one bigger content creator came out and supported it. So Marth, like, super appreciate that. Um, I didn't expect that. That was amazing. And I think the key takeaway from all this is like I didn't have like a special dedicated segment from any big YouTubers. I got a lot of shout outs. I got a lot of just positive visibility and positive reinforcement and kind words, and just positive reinforcement, I guess, for just like a lack of better characterization, and that's amazing. And I think having so kind of my first kind of retrospective or whatever, I can't think of the right word for that either, is like I am bad at marketing, but I will say having lots of very modest sized content creators is not only extremely humbling, but it also, in my opinion, is equally valuable, if not more valuable, um, than having one single dedicated spot from like a bigger content creator. Um, I think that there's a couple of reasons for that. People hear the message from different avenues. They hear the message provided different ways, and I think it's a lot of positive reinforcement. Whereas, like, if you get it from one channel, you have to really rely on everybody's undivided attention, and unless the person has like a super dedicated following, they have to really sell it a certain way. And I've never found anybody. Oh well, I have. It's just very rare to find somebody that really like sells the book in a way that works, that resonates. Um, So sometimes just like having that massive content creator will give you a little bit of a boost, but you really need word of mouth or it's just not going to work. The only time I've ever seen guerrilla marketing really work is what I believe to be those cringy medical manuals, and they broke every rule. They broke every rule in the book to get the word out about those medical books years ago, and I still don't know anybody that's actually read one. And I'm feeling the same way about a lot of these AI books. Like, if your goal is to sell copies, then you can sell copies. That's selling copies of a book is not that hard. You throw enough money at it, you throw enough guerrilla marketing at it, you're going to sell books. If your intent is to actually resonate with people, that is extremely hard. But you need that resonance if you want decent reviews and decent feedback. And I just don't know. I was talking to some people about this, but it's hard to get people to be really engaged with this conversation, to get them to even really care about this conversation in the first place. But like so many of these authors, you don't know if they're real at all. You have no way of verifying or fact checking anything they're saying. And it seems very topical. It seems like toast. It seems like going to Denny's and getting toast. And I think when you're homesteading, for example, or a bunker or a bug out or whatever, trying to jump a car, there's going to be people that are just going to YOLO it, that just, I guess, don't care and tee hee hee if they plug the jumper cables in wrong, or if they attach the jumper cables together, if they attach the black instead of the red or whatever. It's in here. I would have to. There's a lot of the stuff I can't remember either, which is why I've had to write it all down in this book and re reference it, so many times. Like the jumper cable thing, like some of this stuff you just have to brute force memorize. Like you jump a car over and over and over and over and over again, and then the second you stop jumping cars all the time, you gotta, okay, I do it this way instead of that way. Why do I do it instead of this way instead of that way? And that's that's what I don't do a good job at, like marketing my book as. It's just metric tons of reference material. That's what it is. It's just tons and tons and tons of bundled together reference material. It helps. I wrote it all into my fictional stories, and then I realized after several years that I should have just written it all into a non-fictional book of just, oh, the cows are pissed off. Just like random reference material, like the GPS, like the GPS stuff. Um, page 68 ish in Bunker Basics. Like, I was talking to a friend about GPS stuff yesterday. I was asking him for GPS coordinates. He was giving me UTM, and I should have caught it, but my brain was fighting was fighting it, and he kept giving me UTM over and over and over, and I asked for GPS over and over and over. And then in a funny twist of irony, he finally gave me the GPS coordinates, and then I realized that all my GPSs were set up as UTM anyway. And so I had to convert his GPS coordinates back to UTM, which is what he had given me to begin with. And in a shit is the fan situation, that could have been the difference between something bad happening. Like, what if I was going to rescue somebody and they gave me UTM instead of GPS, and I loaded the GPS in his UTM, and you could be off. I don't know if it's like this in the entire US, but if you did this in the Pacific Northwest, you could be off by like 60 miles. uh, on completely it's not quite the difference between the coast and the mountain range, but it's like halfway, you know, and that's enough to get people in a lot of trouble and shit as the fan. But like, how many people know that GPS coordinates and UTM coordinates look almost exactly the same, but they can be really far off? And I write about that in Bunker Basics, but I don't know if I go into it enough detail. But originally, this podcast was going to be for me to like take a chapter every episode and talk about like a different chapter every episode. But the reality is like this is just it's just a big book of reference material. It's like everything I've ever learned, and every time I learn something new or learn like a new way of articulating information or learn that something doesn't quite work right, um, I put it in there. Like, I wish it had more stuff. Like, how do you tell the difference between a zucchini and a cucumber? And just a squash, just by like looking at the leaves. But I'll be honest, the leaves all look the same. Um, you know, I wish I could go into more detail about uh, you know the two different types of tomatoes. Um, I ended up putting some of that in here, at least for the tomatoes, because I thought it was interesting. But if you just go to buy tomatoes at the store, or if you're just looking at tomatoes seeds and you don't know, you're not going to know the difference between. I'm looking for it in here. I don't know the difference between tomatoes that just grow forever and the tomatoes that don't. I have it in here. Tomatoes. Oh yeah, determinants versus indeterminants, or like the difference between mycorrhizal fungus and um, ecto mycorrhizal and endo mycorrhizal. Like, if you see this stuff in a bunker, like, you're not going to know the difference. And buying one of these things is worthless, and buying the other one is super important. Or you can buy concentrated neem oil and don't know you need to water it down because the label's worn off or something. But I almost feel like I should have just an entire section just on dirt. And it's funny, I was watching this climate change thing the other night, talking about how like the major climate crisis that's coming is going to be about viable dirt, and I believe it. Like, viable dirt has been a battle Like it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And we're slowly starting to rejuvenate the clay here into viable dirt, and it's just like people just have no idea. People have no idea like how screwed we are, and people want to make jokes, and they think that everything is funny, and so many distractions, and it's just like I tell people straight up, like it just feels like you're mocking me, to be honest. Like you're just telling me that my time's not valuable. Um, if you're just gonna make jokes, like making one or two jokes is okay, but just like I know people are in like different headspaces and stuff, but I pretty much like eat, live, breathe, sleep either my job or like trying to do this homesteading thing, and like a lot of it is an energy balance and like a psychological balance, knowing that you know there's people that have like infinite energy, and there's people that don't have infinite energy, and then you have to tackle uh, heat management, food management, your body like having to learn how to metabolize and heat, and trying to do cardio and heat and stuff. And I know people in I don't know, maybe their late 50s that can still just like work outside like nonstop. They're just like pure driven. And it's like me, I consider success getting one or two teeny tiny things done every day and just like hoping for the best. Trying to just make incremental baby steps to get a tiny thing done here and a tiny thing done there and a tiny thing done here. And this whole if I was gonna I'm not adding any more chapters to Bunker Basics, but I didn't put 3D printers in here, and there was kind of a reason for that. Like the 3D printer topic turns into a much bigger topic about like prepper multitasking. Like a huge part of being a successful prepper or homesteader, just gardening in general, is being able to like effectively multitask. Get the garden in and get the garden just as automated as you can. Get your garden defenses as automated as you can. Um, Defend your trees, as passively as you can, and then that way you can spend your real effort on checking your gates, checking your fencing, counting your cows. The neighbor's cow got out the other day, and I helped him get the cow back in. And when a cow gets out, you don't have time to wonder, if your blood sugar is gonna fudge up or not, or you have a windstorm and wonder if it's just gonna like destroy all our trees. Like our like we had some blueberries to pick, and we just haven't picked the blueberries. And the deer came through last night and just sheared sheared the branches right off the blueberry bushes. I didn't think they were going to do that this year, but the little stinkers did, and they ate about half the blueberries, and just for no reason, just sheared the branches off. They don't even eat the branches. They just and their bites. are so clean that it looks like something came through with a pair of snips and just cut giant, giant, giant branches off the blueberries. And this is what happens with blueberries and huckleberries in the wild too. It's why it's so rare for blueberries or huckleberries to get big in the wild. Because I don't know, the animals just get like a bug up their ass and just decide to shear them down. Now, if it's elderberries, elderberries can handle it. Um, Blueberries and huckleberries will just stay small forever and never grow, which means they never produce anything. And it's one of just the biggest anti antithetical, I don't know, anti counterproductive. It's one of just the biggest counterproductive things with deer and rabbits and mice for a short-term gain or for seemingly no gain at all. They will kill producing plants for just no reason. There's no nutritional reason for them to just shear branches off of blueberry bushes. They don't eat the leaves. Sometimes they don't even eat the blueberries. They've got rocks in their brains. And absolute just rock for brain animals. Where it's like, why did you bite that branch off? And they bite the branch off and they just leave it there, and then they go bite another branch off and leave it there. It's like, what possesses these stupid animals to just destroy bushes, food producing bushes? And so I'm like, I was thinking, well, do I just try to transplant all these? Do I wait for winter and just try to transplant all these blueberry trees? I could. And this was a producing year, which means I'm lost out on half a bucket of blueberries, which isn't that big of a deal, but it got me thinking, like, blueberries are one of like the cheapest things you can get at the end of the summer. But I've got like 8 of them just sitting out. I'm like, I wonder if I just move them all. I don't know. Battle moochers. I don't know. I wonder if I just move them all like this fall. And in the mice, they tunnel around every single one of my fruit trees, and I know that it's those mice and sometimes the rabbits that just they ring they ring the trees, and then the trees just die. Why? I mean, my dad says it's because they need the salt or something, but it's just like there's so many things that they could eat and then they don't. AC is so loud. It's like it's really hard to enjoy your day out here if you want quiet when there's the AC runs all day. It reminds me of being in like you're camping and some assholes running their generator. And it's like, man, I come out here for it to be quiet. But I also know if that AC doesn't run, it's going to be about 100 billion degrees in the house because the house is not weatherized. Because interest rates are still through the roof. Thanks, Obama. Anyway, I feel like there was like more. I feel like there was more to all this, and now I'm just kind of on a ramble. Um, I want to talk about my book. I'll talk about my book some more, but I'm going to take a quick break for some water because it is hot out here. So I want to talk about my book a little bit more, and kind of my call to action, I guess, is that if you have any questions about the book, my Bunker Basics book, please let me know. If you're a content creator and you want me on your show to talk about my book, or really, well, anything, let me know. Um, and if you have read it and you like it, please give it a review on Amazon. That helps more than you know, because I lost. Amazon would not port my reviews over from bunker codes because they said the metadata is different. And I said, of course the metadata is different. I'm rebranding it. And they're like, well, we can't. I'm like, well, then what's the point? Well, if all the metadata was staying the same, I'm like, if the metadata is staying the same, I don't need to. Anyway. So I suspect rebranding and porting everybody's data is the same metadata, is why if you go look in the Amazon Top 100 survival prepping books, some of these books are like copied 3 and 4 times. I'm guessing because they just rebrand them over and over and over again, and have managed to just take up the entire top 100 with a handful of books. I was actually going to do a YouTube video about that, and I'm like, you know what, it just seems too petty. But I'm going to keep complaining about it because I am not going to do that. Um, what I am going to do, I think, is as I keep thinking of little ways of updating and tweaking how I explain things, either like once every quarter or like once every half year, I'm still going to update it, but I'm going to do what the other authors do, some of them, is it's going to be like, I'm going to put like a new month. I'm going to put like a new month on it. And I'm not doing this for like at least 3 more months. I want this book to really sit and percolate and force me to like think through my preconceived notions and stuff, and how I wrote this a little bit more. It's going to be little, just for context though, like people that used to get really upset at me, like a lot of it was really little stuff, like ants can harvest aphids in leaves, and you gotta take care of that problem. Likewise, spiders will set up very, very, very similar nests into leaves, and they'll live in there, and they'll metamorphose and come out a new spider, or they'll be making spider babies or whatever. And that's honestly not a big deal. They're not going to kill your tree like, ants and aphids will. And so there's little things like that that I update in my book sometimes, just because, like, yeah, it's kind of being pedantic, I guess, at some point, but like, it's all just reference material and observations. I write down little observations, then I try to put them in my book somewhere. A lot of times I think of like ways of wording things just a little bit different. I start using like a new term to describe something, and I'll go put the new term in there. Um, but like, oh, and like the tech section, for example, like every couple of years, tech makes a leap, and I want to put the new tech in there because it's interesting to me, and I think it's useful. So, um, another another prepper YouTuber with a much bigger channel, and I don't know if they're real or not, but they just released a book. It's $25, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. I don't really know what's in it at all. It seems very topical. They immediately shot to number one. They did a very in-depth video that's very very algorithmic. It's very topical, but it's very like mathematically paced. But it everything about it feels AI, but it's kind of like it's more like listening to like a motivational speaker than an actual like YouTube prepper channel. Because it's so topical. But I was listening to it and I was listening to the cadence and I was listening to the rhythm, and I realized like just very rarely do I actually talk about this book at all in terms of like what's actually in it. I call it a newbie prepper book, but I realize, the back of the book doesn't really, like I say, it's a clear, straightforward guide to preparing for emergencies from blackouts to disasters. Written for beginners, it covers essentials from sorting through long-lasting food, first aid gear, navigation tech, untangling off-grid power, and setting up radios. With clear explanations and dispelling common prepper myths, this book answers your questions and builds your confidence. Don't let the apparent complexities of gear and unfamiliar technology scare you away from preparing. Pick up a copy and start to unpack that prepper cache. That I think it was like really poignant. Like the new blurb on the back to me was almost important as the new title and the new subtitle. Like that is what this book is about. It's about taking the fear and uncertainty out of off-grid power, right? Understanding knives more, understanding modern, defensive tools more. And those are some of the bigger sections. Cold weather camping ended up being a big section, but that's because I like cold weather camping, and there's like a whole science to it. There's 2 sections on pepper spray in here. Why? Because the likelihood that you're going to either pepper spray yourself, pepper spray someone else, or someone pepper spraying you is probably pretty high. And I don't know. I there's just so much of this that I feel like other people need to read and then kind of like read it back to me and then tell me if it still makes sense. And a lot of people will say they like it, but like nobody's ever really told me why or how it's different. And I think part of that reason is because finding somebody that actually commonly reads prepper books that has some frame of reference to if it's a good or bad prepper book relative to any other prepper book, good or bad, is hard to come by. And so that's why before I rebranded this thing, one of the things I did was I went and got other prepper books, ones from real authors that I could really talk to, that I'm just gonna say it again. There are so many prepper books where I am not convinced the author is a real person at all. Period. And there's a lot of them like that. And or they're celebrity preppers with full on consultant teams. Um, so when I compared, not compared, when I tried to like find where my book belongs in the universe, I got some prepper books from the store that are all really like the same kind of trendy, cool, clicky, like they've all got cutesy little pictures. Um, they're all very topical. Again, like none of them get into any details of anything. It's all streamlined and sugar coated. And it's not reference material. It's just telling you you should do this, you should do that. It's like, well, okay. You should make a trap and trap critters to survive. Oh, okay. I guess if you say so. Maybe that works for some people, like, or maybe these books are just for like for LARPing. But a lot of this stuff is just like I really like Les Stroud's prepper book. I think it's called Survive with an exclamation point. But I'm reading through it, and it's also like, yo, he didn't write this. Someone else's wrote this and just slapped his name on the front, like they do with cookware. Like Rachel Ray didn't make those pots and pans. I don't know if any of you remember Rachel Ray before the Rona. She was a cooking superstar. She didn't make the pots and pans. She might have she might have helped write the cookbook, or someone else might have written that cookbook and just slapped her name on that too, or she might have signed off on the recipes later. But these celebrities, they didn't write these books. Um, and so I was reading this and I'm like, well, this is pretty good, but it's not something I would read over and over again because it doesn't. It's not like a real human being wrote this. And the more I got into like indie prepper books by well, all the ones that are down in the comments, Don Shift and Spike's Guides and Southern Prepper One and JD Dutra. And NC Scout, and Tactical Wisdom. When I read those, I feel like I'm reading a newbie, or not newbie. I feel like I'm reading prepper books by real preppers for people who actually want to prep. And that's where I want my book to fall into. It's not trying to go up against the SAS handbook or survive exclamation point. And there's just so many of those books that are just so fake, and you read the reviews and it's just like, there's one about making like jarred food meals. I read the reviews on that. It was abysmal. because I had thought about legitimately like picking up some of the books in the top 100 besides Survive exclamation point. But then after realizing it's like, oh, there's 5 different copies of the SAS handbook and surviving the zombie apocalypse, which that has very mixed reviews. Um, and then there's some that just seem like they're just complete fiction. And then, like I've said before, it's like there's the the death planning guide and stuff, and I'm just like this. Unfortunately, like these are the things that have trickled to the top in pop culture, not all necessarily because they belong in everybody's library. Like tactical wisdom belongs in everybody's library. Period. Um, Don Schiff's books belong in everybody's library. Um, but you go to the feed store and you look in the book section and you pick, this survival book, that survival book, this off grid book, that off grid book, and you just look at this stuff and you're like, you can't read this book and survive. It's like it's barely. I don't even want to say it's reference material. It's kind of like this is loosely how you would theoretically do it at like a very high level, kind of. And that's kind of my point. There's nobody you can challenge. There's no like reference material. There's no like, well, why do you do it this way? Is this the only way to do it? Is this the best way to do it? Sometimes there's a lot of ways to do something, and I don't know. So I try to be as real of a person as I can. And if anyone wants to challenge me on any part of the book, maybe that would make it feel more authentic. I feel like your book kind of has to be challenged to kind of earn earn itself, I guess. Earn its existence in the universe. Again, like SAS handbook or survive exclamation point. But I feel like with the prevalence of AI that there's going to be so much AI generic toast slop that it's going to be like, you need good dirt. Okay, how do I get good dirt? Like, unless you have a whole book with just all about dirt, you're going to be in trouble. Um, and I don't know, and I think my point is like, I don't know if I go into good enough detail about that stuff. Like, I probably don't talk about how manure needs to sit, um, food scraps need to sit. Um, you can just bury your food scraps in the ground and plant something right on top of them, but there's like a chemical reaction that happens where your plant's not necessarily getting like the nutrients that it needs. And I probably don't talk about that stuff nearly enough. Like I haven't had somebody to really go through this thing and say like, hey, expand on this, hey, expand on that. Bunker Codes, now Bunker Basics, has been out for 3 years, and I've sold roughly 20 copies of Bunker Basics. I know people want signed copies. I don't even have my own copies yet. They still haven't delivered me mine, and it's been I think 2 weeks, and I still don't even have my own copies. So I'm sorry, like signed copies are just a ways away. Um, everyone says, "Oh, it's good." It's like, okay, do I need? It's good, but what could make it better? You know, and that's kind of part of my call to action is like, it's good, but what could make it better? Like, what parts should I beef up? Um, I wanted I wanted this book to be a good book that earns its right to like stand with all the other books that I believe are in its weight class. And I can't I can't get any of the people that are in its weight class to read it. Presumably, a lot of them, you know, are conducting training, they're learning, and they're writing their own books, and they don't have time to read someone else's book. I asked, and they wouldn't even respond. Um, they were nice enough to retweet it and stuff. That's really cool. But I would also argue on their behalf that all of them already know all of this and so much more that is just of no time no time value for them to do it. It doesn't earn them anything or get them anything. Um, I almost need like a prepper with a similar mindset to like take me under their wing and go, okay, how do we make this book better? Like prepper Block Blocktard did for my electronics area. That's kind of what I need for like the other areas. But like that, and I know that gets into like kind of consultant territory. I'm not looking for consultants. I'm looking for people who can not tell me what to write, but tell me where I could write more. Because right now, all I do is I just like, oh, I want to write more about GPS versus UTM, and I go squeeze it in there, and I don't know. So I just really need your guys' help. If you read Bunker Basics and you like it, please review it on Amazon. I want to get to 25 reviews. I sold roughly 20 copies. You know, if I could even get 10 or 15 reviews, that would help get me started. Um, and drop on my YouTube channel and say like some if there's a chapter that you really liked but you wanted me to write more about, I could work that into the next edition. What I'll say is I won't do more than 4 editions a year. Maybe I'll just do 2. At this point, I don't think the rebranding was popular enough to justify a part 2, even though my heart is really into a part 2. Um, I can't really see myself writing a part two. Um, I'm blown away with what I was able to accomplish. I broke top 50, and not having any major YouTubers give it a dedicated advertising spot. Hitting top 50 is really good. Um, but the guy that the next closest guy that I'm kind of loosely even remotely up against has a bigger channel and hit top one immediately, and his book was priced in like the $25 range, and I was selling mine for like 12 for the promo. That's how do you know how do I justify writing a part two? Um, and that's not anything on y'all. It just has to do with like the reach. I think a lot of preppers are just larpers. They're just role players, I think. And this book kind of is not for them anyway. But I sort of need their help to review the book, and to give me opinions and stuff. But the book's not for them. The book's for a much harder to reach audience. It's for people who should be reading this and aren't, and should know this stuff but don't. Not people who are have consciously made up their mind which things to prep and not prep for, but the people who just don't want to prep for anything is really who this is for. It's reference material to like demystify all the stuff that people just don't know, and probably should know or want to know or start learning. Um, so I don't know. I'm getting really tired, and it's really hot out here, and so I kind of want to wrap this up. I'll just say, in the civil unrest front, um, focus on local, um, or or if you start to see patterns. So like the anti-ICE stuff in the U.S. is kicking up like crazy, and anti I'll just say it, anti-white sentiment in Mexico is on a dramatic uptick, and federal assets are becoming more at risk every day, and the likelihood of an incident kicking everything off is now higher than ever, and that's exactly what the bad guys want. So everybody exercise extra caution. Um, keep your eyes on the civil unrest in Mexico, because that's going to echo here. I wouldn't worry about World War III. I wouldn't worry about China. I wouldn't worry about Ukraine. I wouldn't worry about Russia or any of that. Taiwan, Israel, Palestine. I wouldn't worry about any of it. Um, if we're going to get hit with sleeper cells, we're going to get hit with sleeper cells. If we're going to get hit with tornadoes, if we're going to get hit with the horrible, horrible, tragic flash flood that happened in Texas, and I think North Carolina just got slammed again. To all the people that say nothing ever happens and there's never going to be a shit as a fan, honestly, those people just fucking really super piss me off. Um, I think North Carolina I don't really understand what happened, but North Carolina got like slammed today by something. I haven't seen any video footage of it yet, so I don't know what happened, but it sounded bad. It didn't sound like Texas bad with the at the girl camp. I'm forgetting the name of that place all of a sudden. It didn't sound like that bad, but it still sounded bad. And I guess I want to say something about the Texas thing really quick. Um, you're not getting hundreds of people to high ground in the middle of the night in pitch black darkness. Um, Staying in the cabins was probably the best bet. Uh, and if they didn't build the cabins to weather 100-year flood, then they did. Then they didn't. Um, it's no different than the facilities in Florida, the Gator Guantanamo. That's only rated to handle like Cat 2s. If a Cat 5 hits, that's all it's going to get leveled. Like, we don't build our facilities just like what happened in Asheville, whatever. Most people, 99% of people, 99% of buildings aren't aren't rated to handle like 100-year events. Should they be? I mean, that's a judgment call people have to make, but they're not right now. Just like most of the buildings in Portland aren't rated for the big one. Um, there's all kinds of red tape. They're historical buildings, and so they can't be retrofitted, and everybody's broke anyway. Um, so uh, only like there's like hardened FEMA centers where emergency personnel can survive the hit, so they can like restore communications and start ICS. Um, you know those are rated to handle Cat 5s. 200-mile-an-hour winds or whatever. But like everybody else is just not. Like, if you don't have if you're in Tornado Alley and you don't have a storm shelter, you're just gonna be gone. That's you cannot plan and prep for everything unless you have a nearly infinite budget. Uh, should keeping children safe be the top priority, especially like if you're in charge of keeping hundreds and hundreds of gals, young gals safe? Safety should be number one. Sure, yeah, but unless somebody is willing to put the money down to say we need to make facilities for them that can survive a 100-year flood, 100-year this, that, and XYZ, it's going to just be a matter of time. Now, I believe that in this universe, for there to be any semblance of stakes or any motivation of anything, the failure has to be a thing that can happen. However, failing and having a soft landing is a lot better than failing and just losing a bunch of young gals. Um, it's, in my opinion, it's like you have a school of young gals in a country that they hate young gals being in schools. Uh, you have to take enough precautions to um, dissuade people from trying to harm those gals. Uh, but it's going to happen. There just has to be a soft landing. They're not a massive tragedy. I think banks should be allowed to fail. I don't think that should crash everything, but the banks should fail once in a while. That needs to be a reality that exists, or they just take advantage of everything and they just use other people's money to just keep making bad decisions. Um, Automakers need to fail sometimes. Are people going to lose their jobs? Yeah. Are people going to lose their houses? Yeah. Shit's going to happen. And that's the problem. During the Rona, they froze everybody's people having to make payments. They decided the winners and losers with the automaker crash. They decided the winners and losers with the bank crash. They decided the winners and losers with crypto crash. They decided the winners and losers with the stock market crash. They decide the winners and losers, and that's the problem. When they shut the restaurants down, they decided the winners and losers. When they froze people having to pay rent and mortgages, and they decided the winners and losers. There has to be an equitable spread of losing. You can't just have Moderna and Pfizer with blank checks and immunity and let Johnson and Johnson and um, I'm forgetting all their names all of a sudden. AstraZeneca and Novavax, let them fail left and right and up and down, but let Moderna and Pfizer, that were both stealing each other's material over and over and over and over again, to where I don't know if anyone knows which one of them actually came up with it at this point, which is why they were both nearly identical. I don't know how that works. There has to be an equal opportunity failing, and I think I'll leave with this. Um, that's why this job market is so messed up, right? They tried to force everybody back to the office. They laid everybody off anyway, just like I said they would. And they're going to be replacing everyone with H-1Bs again. They're going to be offshoring everything again. And it's all going to be AI and automation. And the unions are an absolute failure. And private equity firms are gobbling everything up and flipping it as fast as they can. And it's a race to the bottom. The Fed is just completely locked in place and has, I think, no idea what it's doing. I think they're so piss scared over a devaluation that they just have interest rates just jacked through the roof. And they go, well, everyone can handle it. It's like, yeah, because everyone's working 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. Because nobody can fail. And the problem is like, the more they prop everybody up, the worse it gets and the harder of a landing it's going to get. They waited so long to force everybody back in the office. The layoffs are going to be even worse. And then the impacts to just replacing everyone with H-1Bs is going to be even worse. It was all going to happen anyway. What I'm saying is it's like a bigger cliff. There's no way to bounce back from it. Like, and it's the same thing. A lot of people get a lot of flack for this, and I'm honestly I'm kind of sick of everybody's shit. The whole like global warming thing. I don't think something wonky do is going on with the climate for sure. Uh, we're having quite a few 100-year. It started with the hurricanes a couple years ago. I don't know, was it 10 years ago? We started just getting like crazy hurricanes, and people, oh, this is totally normal. I'm like, I don't think this is normal. It's not totally normal. And then we've had just like crazy tornadoes. But then you get these same assholes. Oh, you mean it's cold in the winter? Oh, you mean there's storms in the winter? We used to just call those storms. Now you got different names for them. You all the fear mongering with the bunch of fucking Seth Rogen ass retards. Just dismissing the fact that people are going outside and going, man, this weather's not right, or the sun doesn't feel right, or why the hell are there northern lights over and over and over and over and over when I've gone my entire life and never seen them once, and now there's northern lights over and over and over and over again. Holy fucking I'm just so sick of it. And I'm looking out here, and my little sproutlings, it's damn near the middle of July, and my little sproutlings aren't growing. Okay? Like, last year this shit would have all been like 10 feet tall by now. I would have been up to my eyeballs and stuff and not even known what to do, and now my garden is just like, we've had like 4 false summers now, so everything will grow for like 2 or 3 days and then stop. And no, that's not global warming. Oh, it's summer. Oh, it's hot during the summer. No, it's not global warming. I don't know what the hell it is. Now, it might be hotter in the Midwest, and it might be hotter on the East Coast. But like here in the Pacific Northwest, this isn't global warming. I don't know what this is. The grass is not dead. The grass is only barely kind of starting to be crunchy when you walk through it. Large swaths of this hayfield are still green. Like, global warming. And then this winter it's going to be like, oh, you mean in the winter there's storms? It's just like, dude. It's funny. Marv was just talking about something a little bit different, like, oh, you've been eating, what do you say? You've been eating the mushrooms again? Talking like, people just, they make an observation and then everybody just dismisses them. And it's like, man, you go outside. Go outside, you'll see that things are different. Don't read what you hear on the news. Don't watch the weather reports. And if there's, emergencies, keep your NOAA radios and keep your emergency NOAA alarms and stuff. Like, do that. But I mean, like, not like the day-to-day, but like, we've had so many just like cool breezy 70-degree days out. It's amazing. I love it. Get tons done outside and it feels great to be outside, but like nothing grows. Nothing grows. Although the apples and pears are just as happy as can be, but nothing's ripening. Had a summer like this about 10 years ago, and our tomatoes did not ripen the whole summer. And I'll never forget that. That was wild. And there's teeny tiny tomato flowers, 1 or 2, but we're in the middle of July. The tomatoes aren't even starting. Just a little flower, then the flower flakes away, another little flower, the flower, like, is that because the bees aren't coming back here? I don't know. I don't know. But all I can say is that we have to be dialed into what's going on with the weather. And I write a lot about that in my books. Like, when the shit hits the fan and you're living out of a bunker, like, you got to get your sproutlings dialed in, you know. And to me, next year it's all going to be clear plastic Dixie, those cheap like dollar store clear plastic cups. I can see the roots. I can see how much water is going in them, and I can see if it's growing or not, and I can write a little letter on it, and I can just put a new seed in if that seed doesn't stick. And I'm just going to do that next year, and I will absolutely have exactly as many plants as I want. I'm not doing the little pod things anymore and just like hoping and praying and try it in this window and try it in that window. Like, no, I know what window I need to try it in. Um, I know what windows. I know what side of the house. Um, I have a teeny tiny little greenhouse baggy thing, but I know that all of that is irrelevant if we head into July, which, by the way, the Farmer's Almanac says we're supposed to be putting everything in April 1st, basically. Well, April, May, June, July. It's been 3 months and nothing's grown. It's been 3 months and everything is still sprouts. Even the potatoes don't even know what to do. I'm gonna put more potatoes in, but the potatoes don't even know what to do. So, like, these are the things that I try to write about in my book, because I think these are the things, these personal insights are the things that people are going to go through. If I write a part two, I guess I'll write a whole thing about climate change. But I'll end with this. One of Oh, and by the way, there's been more wildfires in the past 10 years than the whole rest of my life combined, by a massive amount. I don't know. Global warming. No, I don't think. I think the forests have been completely mismanaged on top of everything else. Um, don't count on emergency alerts. Um, there is tons of catastrophes, both man-made and otherwise, where there was no alerts um, over the past 10 years. I think everything has just really gone downhill, and it's not because there aren't hard workers. There's still hard workers. I think the fake it till you make it crowd has just completely taken over, um, and I think nobody understands like the weather models anymore, and I don't think they haven't for like at least 10 years. And I think the weather forecasters are either just too afraid or just nobody's going to allow them to just say, look, for the last 10 years, we've had no idea what the weather's going to do. And just be honest. Just like, we can very loosely tell you, maybe, hopefully, geographically, exactly what is happening right now in like some areas, and that's about it. There's a low front coming, there's a high front coming, but the models say it's going in three different directions. And I think that's why so many people have gone to YouTube and just found their own YouTuber that they trust. And I know a lot of them have made their careers out of just reanalyzing the shit that everybody already knows. Like, the whole weather, the whole space weather thing is a dime a dozen. The whole YouTube weather reporter thing, those people are just a dime a dozen. People just watching every single global news feed for being the first to report the next war thing that pops up. None of them are actually, or very little of it is like their own. How do I say this without pissing people off? Very few people anymore actually go out and gather their own intel and do their own research. They're analyzing like available open source intel. There's nothing wrong with that. And ironically, I think that has worked itself all the way up into the highest levels of analytics. I'm not shitting on YouTubers. I'm saying this is just kind of, I think, become the new normal where everybody's just gathering data and everybody analyzes the data and everybody goes to whoever they trust. And you know what? I guess maybe I'm doing that too, except I do that with civil unrest. I look at the civil unrest with all the open source and I make my own predictions. I don't go and crack terrorist cells open and get the data myself. So I'm not shitting on anybody. What I'm saying is like I actually think it's a good thing. I actually think it's a good thing. Um, because you can find a weather reporter on YouTube that you trust. You find a space fart weather person that you trust. You find a an Intel global war YouTuber analyst person that you trust. Uh, Now everyone's going to bend over backwards of who broke it first. I think that's what annoys me. No, so and so prepper channel. This happened earlier today. So and so prepper channel broke that first. So and so prepper channel said that there's a sub in the bay. So and so, well, motherfucker, that prepper didn't get that information themselves. They didn't break it first. They weren't there. They were the biggest one with the biggest channel that re-disseminated the information the fastest. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic. And I don't know if they actually put their source or not, because I don't give a shit. But Survival Living used to talk about this all the time, about how people rush to be the first source and they just don't fucking vet anything. And I learned a lot from Survival Living talking about that. And Marv, they wait like days, and stop trying, or not even try to be the first person to break it, the first YouTuber to get the fastest YouTube video out the fastest, to break it the fastest. So all the all the fanboys and fangirls will go autistically shriek at everybody else that they weren't the first one that broke it, even though it's open source fucking intel. Uh, or more likely, completely fake. Um, so, or old, or AI. And when Israel started hitting Tehran, it took hours to independently verify that, because there was nothing leaked. When the B2s hit all over Iran, it was days and days and days before people really found out what happened. because the info didn't leak. There was no open source intel. And closed source intel is pretty much impossible to verify. And so when people come with closed source intel, they just go source, source, source. And it's like, well, there's no source. They're at the source. That's closed source intel. Like, you're not going to get a source with that. There are people that know things that don't tell anybody and don't warn anybody because there's just no fucking point. And it's kind of okay because as long as you get in on shit within the first couple hours, you can take care of what you got to take care of. And then you've got about 3 days before the shit really hits the fan. That's the honeymoon period. I would say the only reason you need shit like absolutely broken immediately is either, like there's going to be flash floods, tornado warnings, or if, the nukes are going to be dropping. But if you're in the city and nukes are dropping, there's just going to be a bomb that goes off. And then if you're not out the door in your car, you're not. You can get out as far away as you can and hope you're going downwind. Wait, upwind. Hope you're going upwind, Take your potassium iodide if you got it. If, read the instructions, get your dosimeter card out. But the likelihood that you're going to be warned that there's like an inbound nuke, no YouTuber is going to break that fast enough. Like, you have to be on Twitter when it happens, and I think even then you hear like that another town got nuked. Just everybody from every town should just get the hell out at that point, like, and just sit and wait and not even risk it. Like, there's no YouTuber breaking shit fast enough that is gonna matter. CMEs, you get like 3 days. Well, between 2 and 3 days to get your affairs in order before the big CMEs hit. Forest fires, if they're far enough away, you get a little bit of time. But YouTubers aren't gonna like, by the way, there's a forest fire outside. You've got to get that shit yourself based off of the available open intel, which thankfully there are amazing fire maps. Don't rely on other YouTubers though. Check that shit yourself. Now, I know I'm rambling. Sort of. I know I'm rambling longer than I wanted to. Where a lot of that comes together, where a lot of that analysis comes together, is when you've got like your meteorologist YouTuber or whatever that you trust that has the fire map, and they have the wind map, and they have the precipitation map, and they can tell you, hey, if you're in this area, the wind is probably blowing this way, and but by then, like, usually you're in like what, code yellow anyway, and you've already got to have your shit packed anyway. It's, I don't know, If you're in a tornado area, you need to have your damn alarms on. Okay? But like, if it's fires or if it's floods, you should be doing your own active intel. I mean, you got to know, or if you think a dam, if you like the Orville Dam, if you think a dam is going to go, you need to be doing your own research and your own intel. You don't need to be waiting for other people. You get your damn family's bags packed, and you get your evac routes, and you, if they, hopefully they already have their bags and shit packed. Like, and again, you can only prep for what you can only prep for. I'm sure. I'm sure my house would get launched into the friggin' atmosphere. If a cat fire, an F5 landed on it. I mean, it would toss my house into the next county. I just, I want to be prepared for that, but I also don't have a bajillion dollars. So a world has to exist where failure is a possibility, and that's just horrible. And people go, "Why did God let this happen?" It's like, well, we don't live in caves. We live up here on the surface where shit can happen, and we just do our best. But I think this climate, this is I'm sure this has all happened before, but I don't think any of this has happened in our lifetimes. And I think everybody with any property or any gardens needs to be getting their notebook out, and they need to be writing all this down, and we need to keep sharing notes and keep talking about it so we can all try to keep our gardens going, so we can get good dirt, so we can keep the critters away. um, while the grid is still up, while communications are still up, we can be helping each other. And so that's what my book's about. uh, Bunker Basics. I hope you'll check it out. I hope this podcast doesn't sound like crap. um, did I already say this? It was the first 4th of July, or the first 4th of July ever with cloud cover. The fireworks were going off in the clouds. It was the coolest. It was the coolest damn thing. But I'll tell you, when it rains, it pours. The same day the cow got out here, in my friend's farm, a bull got out, and in my other friend's house, a dog burst through their gate and got chickens. All three of those things happened at the same time. You can't tell me that shit's normal. Like, something about this, something's going on. And like, that's why I moved here. I moved here to get away from the fires. Um, and I moved here because I think we're going to have crazy amounts of climate refugees. I think huge swaths of the Midwest and East Coast are going to become unlivable. I'm not saying it's because of water rising, and I'm not specifically. I don't know. I think it's going to get too hot. Um, I don't think that's. I don't want to say like that's global global warming. Um, something's something's happening though. Like I said a couple years ago, it was like 117 here, and I know for a fact it was 117. And now, like, you look at it, and they say that didn't happen. If you go look at if you go check the news, they'll say it didn't get to 117. But I was there. I saw the temperatures that day. Um, so there's a lot of a lot of psyop bullshit going on too, and a lot of people pointed out um, they've changed the colors of all the all the heat maps, which is really, really freaking weird. So I do think there's like some bullshit going on, but like heat dome is a real thing. People keep clowning on all these different weather names. I like having different weather names for different things. Oh, it's just called it being hot because it's summer. No, like heat dome, it like makes sense. Like polar vortex, it makes sense. Like it used to really piss me off with with El Nino and La Nina. Like that used to really make me mad. But then I understood. Okay, they had to have some name to call this, so I get it. Like so, there's names for things. Like so what? People need to fucking get over it. Yeah, it's kind of dumb that we have tropical storm instead of hurricane. Whatever. Like get over it. Like something's I don't know. If you ignore all the signs, you know, that's that's on you. And again, I don't think it is just things getting hotter. Because it's not getting hotter here right now. Something else something's going on. Because like the sun is not cooking my head like it was last year. My head felt like it was in a microwave last year. I could not, even with a hat on, I couldn't go out in the sun. And I'm okay this year. Um, I don't know. I had some way of wrapping it all up, but I can't remember what it was now. Uh, Pay attention to your weather, though. The homeless people do, and the illegals do. Everybody else is paying attention to the weather, but you. Um, it's not global warming when frost kills off all the peaches, and frost kills off all the oranges. It's not global warming when the wind comes through and shears shears all the trees. It's something else. I don't know what it is, but like something's boogering everything up. And until you really like write it down and try to notice as you're growing, as you're trying to grow your plants year after year, you don't really notice it. Something's going on. We had a year where it was bone dry in April, and I was terrifying. It was terrifying. And now the hay is still green, and it's the going into the middle of July. So just pay attention. Go with your gut. It's not the end of the world for most of us. Some of us are going to be in really dangerous climate situations. Some of us are going to be in really dangerous civil unrest situations, but it's not the end of the world. Everyone just has to keep being kind to each other. Keep prepping. Don't don't get distracted. Don't turn on each other. Don't shit on each other. And please check out my book. If you already have it, please leave a review. I hope this podcast turns out okay. Get out and try to do some gardening. Don't forget to water. I want to keep talking to y'all, but I'm seems like a good place to call it. So I appreciate y'all. And talk to you later. Bye. Also, I wanted to make more music, but Suno takes all your credits every time your month is over, and so um, probably I don't know. Probably no more songs for a while. We kind of just listen to them ourselves anyway. So leave a comment down below if you want to hear a new song or something. Otherwise, it's just another way of me saving my money and time to spend on other stuff. So I'll talk to y'all later. The only way we make it through this is together. Bye.